Well, welcome to Company Culture with Yvette C. Owens. It's another Thursday, and we're back here to talk to you about those behaviors that actually dictate and define an organization far greater than what the product or what your vision statements do. And so it's important to intentionally, and that mean intentionally, define your organization and your culture, your environment, making sure that you're constantly working on it. So it's great to be with you this today. So just we come on in, share this, invite others to be a part of our conversation. I'm going to get set up here so I can see your comments and things like that. Today, we're talking about trusting beyond what you can measure. There's so much more to what we look and what's behind numbers when we're doing a measurement, when we're doing research, when we're just analyzing. A lot of folks who are those of us who are in research and development, or you're in any kind of development, or you're in creating any things, whether you're creating a business or community movement or a ministry or anything, it's important to know what the numbers are really saying to you, what it really means, and that we just don't take those numbers as face value. So this today I'm going to share with you 5 things that came across my mind as I was really considering what what we should really be looking for when we're trusting beyond the measurements, beyond what we can see. The first thing is to make sure that we're measuring what is most meaningful. Because can I tell you, what you measure is where people will pay attention. That's what you'll get as an outcome. So if you are wanting people to really be more engaged, you want more energy in your space, if that's where you're really looking forward to in your space, then you're counting how many things they complete, production goals, and you're just counting production goals, then that you're going to get production goals, but that does not necessarily mean that you're getting greater and higher engagement. Make sense? So you want to count and measure everything that's most meaningful to you. If it's meaningful for you to not only get have production goals, but also make sure that people are interacting with one another, then you want to make sure you're measuring how much creativity and innovation is happening, how many ideas are coming forward, how many people are actually working together to build and develop those ideas. That's what you really want to measure, right? So the first item, and today again, we're talking about trusting beyond what you can measure. So the first thing is making sure you're measuring meaningful things. And I often coach entrepreneurs in this space and new leaders in this space around what is it that you want to make sure you're always going to achieve. And if you know what you want to achieve, how will you measure? How will you know you're achieving that? How will you know you're reaching your goals? And so that's what you need to focus on there, making sure you're measuring something meaningful. And if you stick with me to the end, I'm going to show you how we can work together, because I understand that with the great resignation and people leaving organizations left and right, and um, others who are left behind having to take on more responsibility, you people, more and more individuals are looking for support in their roles. They need that sounding board. They need experienced ears and experienced mindsets to be able to coach them through different scenarios, especially when they get into those difficult spaces, especially when they get into those sensitive areas. And with leadership changing frequency, or the leadership coming in, obviously you have been chosen and they're very qualified, but they need ramp up time. So they might not be there when you need them. And that's what I bring to the table. That's how I support those who are my clients. That's how I support corporations and organizations who are trying to supplement the support of their teams and individuals in their organization. You might have an organization that is looking for more mentor. How do you mentor? How are you able to really support each person as in their growth effort as you're rebuilding? Let's just face it, after COVID, we are all rebuilding. Yet there's people lacking leadership support because there's not enough going around, or that the leadership there is trying to get ramped up. So that's where I can help you. And if you stick with me to the end, I'll show you and tell you how we can connect. So we're talking about trusting beyond what you can measure. First and foremost, make sure you are measuring what's meaningful. Whatever you measure is the behavior you're going to get. Whatever you measure is where people are going to pay attention. Secondly, instinct. And this is where having those who are in that workspace are really critical. The people who have been there the longest, who can tell you, yeah, that number might have come out on your analysis, but that doesn't make sense to the day to day work effort. That's not telling our story. And that happens. That happens when we analyze things and we just crunch the numbers. That is absolutely a possibility that the numbers that you're crunching don't really tell the true story. So you not only need to know that you're measuring something meaningful, but then bounce it off of those who have been in that space for a really long time, um, who can say, if this makes sense according to their experience. They've been there. They know what it's like, and they can share that. Three, the character of the individuals conducting the research and the measuring, and the character of those being measured. And what I mean by that is we can often have good morning. We can often have measurements and put our biases into what we're measuring, meaning that we are already making assumptions about what the outcome is going to be. And this is one of the challenges that we're realizing in artificial intelligence, AI, that if we are not very careful with not putting in incorrect assumptions about the people group, about what we expect to come out, then if we put in incorrect assumptions, then we're going to skew the outcome. So make sure we're being as fair as possible with what you are trying to measure, the assumptions you're going in with. Make sure they're as clean and pure as possible so that you get clean outcome. And then that also speaks to, what are you assuming about the group that you're measuring? What are you assuming about the product that you're measuring? If it's your product, or if it's your service, are you assuming that everybody already loves it? Are you assuming that it's meeting everybody's needs? And so whatever you're measuring is going to skew to that? Or are you testing that maybe there's some gaps in how you're serving that population, or some gaps in your product, solving for those solutions? So be very careful about the character of your testing. And again, today we're talking about trusting beyond what you can measure, because too often people are taking and just crunching the numbers and saying, oh, here's the story that is telling, so here's what it means. Nope, you want to make sure you're testing something that's meaningful and really important. You're testing it and you're letting somebody who's had experience in that space look at it and say, yep, that makes sense. I would expect that outcome. Or, you know what, we need to look into this number a little deeper because this does not align with what I've experienced over the years that I've been here. And then three, the character. Look at the character of who's doing the testing, and look at the characteristics of what's being tested. Are you making false assumptions? And then four, if you've done steps 1 through 3, take the risk. Take risk, because now you're on a good solid foundation with meaningful information that is reliable, that you can now take safer risk. Risk is always a risk. And sometimes and you need mitigation, but it's better to take an informed risk, a well-informed risk, than something that you just crunched the numbers on a whim and you did. And then lastly, 5, be open to learning and expanding your trusted counsel. So again, oftentimes we start out with, here's the problem I'm trying to solve. And I'm going to involve the leadership who has experience around that problem. I'm going to talk to them because they're the ones that asked me to help solve it. I'm going to really ask them what it is that how they see the problem and what they see as a solution. And I'm going to really just talk to them. And I'm going to encourage you that you want to broaden that to other people. So it's good to start with a smaller group to say, what are we trying to solve for? What are we trying to do? What are we trying to create? But then take that and be willing to share it with other people who will be impacted by that coming forth and ask them, hey, tell me about your workflow. Tell me about your need in this. How would you use this product? How would you use this service? Would you use it at all? Do you see it as being helpful? Because now you're testing what that insight that you got from that initial group, that you're testing the hypothesis that that first group shared with you with actual people who are not necessarily your subject matter experts, who are not necessarily always thinking about these things, but just the average individual contributor, the average person who's going to experience the results of this coming forth, but you never really ask them. So that's what we mean by testing, trusting beyond what you can measure. You need to go deeper, dig deeper into is being, what you're trying to do, and the numbers that are going to support that, analysis that are supporting you going forward. Because guess what? We need to be also open to, well, you know what? We've done some analysis and it doesn't look like this is the right answer. It's better to find that out earlier. We call it fail forward, fail faster. It's better to fail faster than to go the whole length of developing and creating and find out nobody wants this, or it's not going to solve your problem. So I am Yvette C. Owens, and this is what I bring to my clients. I help them understand, here's the problem that they're trying to solve. Is it going to really solve the initial problem? Digging deeper, I help them to understand where they may have some bias in their assumptions. I help them to make that change a meaningful change. Because this is why this is where resistance comes when you just have a very small nucleus group of people who are deciding that we see a need and we want to bring that need, solve for that need, because we know it can take our organization further. But yet they also decide how you're going to do it without involving and including other people that's going to be impacted by it. And it's just not people inside your organization, but external to your organization. How will that be viewed? And if you're an individual, how will you see? And you're trying to determine, should I go right? Should I go left? Where should I take my career? Where should I take my business or my ministry? You want to test those things, but when you test, you need to make sure it's a thorough measurement, a thorough ongoing monitoring that's realistic to what's really being experienced in that environment that you're trying to participate in, or you are participating in, or you're trying to be a part of. So You can reach me. I should share my contact information. I'll put it here along the screen. I work with individuals and organizations, helping them to realize their vision, to realize their very best, to work through those very sensitive and difficult areas. If you are a leader, a high performing individual, or you're striving to be thriving to be a high performing individual, and you need a coach, you want to bring some workshop or some coaching into your organization for your teams, that's what I excel in. That's where I prove out to help individuals work through their unique scenarios. Because while some other areas or organizations have been through similar, everything is unique to your situation. Why? Because each of you are unique. And you put all those dynamics together, then it requires the proper attention in your space. So I hope that this is helping you. If you're ready and willing to go forward, if you're not afraid of change and you want to minimize resistance, if you want to know how to really deal with resistance in a space that you're trying to bring forward and try to improve for folks, let's connect today, because there's nothing like today. We're in the fourth quarter of 2022. Now's the time. Right now is the time to prepare for 2023. Right now is the time to make the 2022 strong. Mm. Now's the time to make 2022 strong and end strong and begin 2023 as powerful as possible. So, again, remember, look beyond what you're measuring. First of all, make sure you're measuring what's meaningful, and don't measure just once. Measure often, monitor those measurements. So when you're creating something, when you're building something, figure out, what is it that I want to build? And what's going to be most meaningful to keep us on track of success. I often use the analogy that if you want to improve your engagement in the organization, you don't just want to count production. Production is important. How many products can you put out? How many clients can you serve? How many customers can you serve? That's important. But if I'm measuring engagement in the organization, how well we're working together, then I need to figure out how to measure the creativity that's coming forward, how to measure that innovation that's coming forward, how to measure people's interaction and how well that interaction is being done. That's what I need to measure if I want to measure engagement. Again, not to slight or to say production's not important, but you want to make sure that if in this example, if you want to measure engagement, then you need to measure more than just production. And you want to dig deep, test those numbers, test the outcomes, talk about them. Talk about them with individuals when you have the results. Share with them. This is what we found in our survey. Does this resonate with you? Does this make sense from your perspective? Because you could find that in your organization, there are pockets of people that it might resonate with, and then others who are like, no, that's not, that's not what I'm experiencing. So I want to encourage you, have the courage to measure and monitor often, but also have the courage to know what to do with the outcome of that, and making sure that you don't have biases. Make sure you're using your instinct, the instinct of those who have been with you the longest, to say, does this really make sense based on what we've experienced in the past? Make sure you're testing and you're well aware of the character of those who put the measurements together and those you're measuring. Take the risk. Absolutely take the risk. it's well worth it. But you want to take calculated, meaningful risk. And that's when you can make a change and make a solid change, and you'll have more people coming along with you and willing to be a part of that change than not. I'm Yvette C. Owens. I am the business ambassador. This is Company Culture with Yvette C. Owens, and I'm here to serve you and your organization. I again know that leaders are leaving organizations quickly and fast and furiously, and new leaders are coming in, but they need ramp up time. And you may need in your organization to supplement the support of those leaders. You may need support to supplement those individual contributors. And that's what I do. That's how I serve my clientele, my customers, by helping them to be successful, helping their individuals, their people, their teams to be more successful, to come alongside that leadership and to create that healthy environment where absolutely everyone can thrive. If there's a gap and you that sounds like something you and your organization could use, contact me today. Today is the day for you to accelerate and create your next best thing. I'm looking for those high performers ready to change, ready to create change in a healthy way so that it's meaningful and you have them your everybody coming along with you because they understand the change and not only understand it but are helping to contribute to make the change successful. Have a fantastic day, and remember, it takes all of us to create a healthy culture where absolutely everyone can thrive. Have a great Thursday. Bye-bye.